Hello, my name is Sarah Holland. Welcome to the Fertile Mindset podcast. Each week on the podcast, we'll explore how your mind can help you create a meaningful and happy life. And through the conversations here, we'll be planting seeds of inspiration to bring you more clarity, purpose, and joy. This podcast is for you if you've ever felt stuck or unsatisfied with life and know that you want to live in a bigger and more beautiful way. I hope you enjoy the time you spend with us. Let's begin. Hello and welcome back to the Fertile Mindset podcast. I hope you are well and have had a good summer. It is pretty chilly here now in the UK, so it feels like summer is finally over, and my summer break is over now too, which means it's time for me to come back to the podcast and share some episodes that I recorded a few weeks ago. As always, they are fascinating conversations with really interesting people who are living their lives with clarity, purpose, and joy, the values that we hold so dear at Fertile Mindset, and the three things that I work on in many ways using EFT tapping with my clients. If you are wanting to bring more clarity, purpose, or joy, or all three into your life, and you'd like my support, then do get in touch to have a chat about one-to-one EFT coaching sessions with me. Just go to fertilemindset.com and get in touch with me on the contact page. Now, on to today's episode of the podcast with Rebecca Page. When I first met Rebecca around a year ago, I was immediately drawn to her beautiful energy, and I was fascinated to hear about her huge success in business. She has developed her powerful way of combining energy work with business and is eager for as many people as possible to know about this way of working, which is why she has created an amazing low-cost membership and invites everyone to try it for free as well. The link to this is in the show notes wherever you are listening to the podcast, and I encourage you to check it out. Rebecca Page is the founder of the Zone Method and an award-winning multi-8-figure entrepreneur who is on a mission to help entrepreneurs and business owners create wildly profitable businesses and lives. I hope you enjoy listening to our conversation. Welcome to the podcast. It's really lovely to have you here.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I'm really excited to be here.
Oh, I know I didn't have the podcast up and running when we first met, which, gosh, how long ago is that now? It's about September time, I think, a few months ago.
Yeah, I think we're probably coming up to it nearly a year.
Yeah, but as soon as I knew that I wanted to relaunch the podcast and what the theme would be and the kind of topics we'd be talking about, I knew that I wanted to have you as a guest. So I was really pleased that you accepted my invitation and that you're here today.
Thank you very, very much.
Oh, so perhaps we could start with a little bit of an introduction as to who you are and why you believe I invited you to the podcast and how you work. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So my name's Rebecca Page. I am I guess I'd call myself a serial entrepreneur and a business and energy coach. So I've had a variety of different businesses, all different sizes. I have sold 6 different businesses. I've had one that's had over 1 million followers on social media. I've had several which have been in the multi-millions in revenue very quickly. And I love all things business, but why I believe you've had me on here is for the energy and kind of well-being side of what I do. So the more businesses I've had, the more I noticed how it would impact my energy on a day-to-day basis. And it was cyclical. How my energy was then impacted how the business was doing. I mean, not like one causes the other, but there's definitely these different interactions. And so then I started learning more about energy, and I've done personal development right from when I was in my teens, but I started learning more about energy and how it impacts it. And the more I've learned and the more I've then applied that to my businesses, the better results I've then had in them, which has been quite surprising. I would not have expected that when I first started getting into it.
And you're right, that is what kind of is your secret sauce, what sets you apart, you could say, from others that are offering any kind of business coaching. I mean, your top level information there sounds impressive, the number of followers, the millions of pounds, the number of businesses, that's showing the kind of experience and accomplishments you've had in the business world, which in itself is intriguing, because people want to know, how to do business and how to succeed and how to get those elusive followers on Instagram and everything. But then you say you're a business and energy coach, which just blows it wide open. It's like, okay, so there is something else at play here. This isn't a traditional, perhaps, way of running and growing and creating business. How did you discover that? Like, what was the experience like for you before we dive into what it actually is, the energy
Yeah.
side? Like, I'd like to hear a bit more about your experience with it. How did you discover?
Well, there's definitely two sides to growing a business, the strategic and the tactical stuff. So as a business coach, there are two sides to what I do. One is the strategy. So you talked about growing on Instagram. What do you post? How do you post it? How is it edited? What's the text? What's the hook? It's the layout of the video, like all of that strategy stuff. And the same for sending emails, running events, selling on Facebook ads. All of that has strategy to it. But then I started with personal development literally in my teenage years, and doing different courses and reading different books and all of that. I had parents who were very into that, so that was really helpful. And then when I started getting more into the advanced personal development, I was then also meeting people who were in the holistic field, who were doing things like tapping, doing things like energy readings, doing things like I can't think of a single other one, but I know there's dozens of them. I've just gone blank in front of the camera. Yeah, so meeting people who did all of that. And then as I met people, I was then like, oh, this is interesting. Let me try that. And then what I noticed is the more I was doing that kind of work, the bigger whatever the business was I was having at the time was growing, and the better it was doing. So I then just started playing with the different techniques, the different things I was learning about Chinese medicine, about the physical vibrations that come off your body, your frequency, how your thoughts then change your frequency, how the frequency you're giving off can be measured. So I started playing with all of that and seeing whether I could direct and focus the work that I was learning about into, how do I make this email chain better? How do I get better open rates? So if I can clear the energy of all of that, as well as apply the strategy stuff, did that make any difference? And I was shocked to discover it did. And so then I've then kind of reversed back from there and learnt the science behind energy and vibration, basically, and what was I actually doing when I was doing that, and then how do I on purpose teach people how to apply not just the strategy, because it's like if you've got something you want to do, you still need to get up and do it. Like, you still need to take the actions, you still need to send the email, do the thing. But how do you get yourself vibrationally in the right place where you're really connected to your customer, you're really connected to your business? Because if you're writing your email from a place where you're not feeling any resistance around any of that, and you are excited to write something to your customer, and you're really thinking about what benefit this is going to be, the value they're going to get, the impact it's going to have on them, if you're thinking and feeling about all of that while you're writing it, that email is going to land very differently, and it's going to be far more likely to have them open, have them click, have them buy, than the email that you got ChatGPT to write while you were sat on your phone in the app waiting outside the school for the kids to come out.
I think that's something that everyone could relate to, regardless of whether anyone could relate to the energy part. I'm sure we're going to talk lots more about that. But that mindset piece of how do I feel as I take this action, as I write this email, we know
Yeah.
that has an impact, don't we? We know that it colors how we, how we then come across, and the energy, like our own energy that we put into it.
Yeah.
But of course, you've done all the background work and all the experimentation to understand why that is and how we can intentionally then create the right environment to do business, to write an email, to do whatever.
Yeah.
I love when you talked about the experimentation. First of all, I was that child and teenager as well who was like into all the self-development stuff, leading my friends through self-hypnosis in the woods at school at lunchtime and things like that to improve ourselves. So I've always had that thirst for it. But when you talked about the experimentation, it really reminded me of how EFT was developed. And I don't know what you know about that story with Dr. Callahan, I mean, which was TFT, like the original tapping therapy. But he was an American psychotherapist, just kind of a traditional psychotherapist who had an interest in Chinese medicine, and then just brought the two together and just experimented one day and thought, oh, this patient I'm seeing who's got a phobia of water is saying she feels sick to the stomach. Let's see what happens when we tap the stomach meridian, which is under the eye, and just was playful with it, like you described there. Let's just
Yeah.
see what happens. And then he came across this amazing connection between the emotions and Chinese medicine and the meridians, which now has expanded into this huge, industry of tapping techniques of various types. And yeah, where would we be without it? It's amazing to have it. So I love that you took all your knowledge and experimented and then tried it out even more. And what if I do this and tweak this? And yeah, it's led to some magical things for you.
Yeah. Well, if you look at any holistic technique, I don't know. I get a little bit triggered sometimes with the words holistic because it kind of implies that it's less practical in many definitions of the word in society, and that's really not true. But if you take any non-traditional medicine technique, well, firstly, in some parts of the world, many of them are considered traditional medicine because they've been practiced and proven so many times. But if you take any of those and then you look at the science of it underneath, it's usually applicable not just to the body, but also to your entire energy field around you. And if you then think of running a business, the energy field around you, so the physical, you can call it your aura, but you could also just call it literally how far away from you, the vibration that your cells give off, because all of your cells are vibrating constantly. It's not actually your cells, it's the stuff in them, but let's not get too deep on that. We don't need to go back to grade 9 science. But if you look at all of the bits that make you up, the vibration that they're giving off, the frequency that they're giving off, changes according to what you're thinking or feeling or doing. And that is expanding, goes out from your body. And if you then think of interacting with a customer, whether it is remotely via email or a sales page or whatever you've done, you have put that energy from yourself into that, because energy is transferred as you write, as you think. Those letters on the screen are coming there because you've typed something into a device. So there's a transfer of energy that happens. And if you're physically meeting customers face to face, you are physically within their energy field and they are physically within yours. So whatever your frequency and feeling is going to be communicated and transmitted to your customer as you're interacting with them. And so then the kind of testing and feeling about that I did with lots of different modalities is then what is the logic behind that? So I've gone blank on an example again, but yeah, that's what I did, is I just tried a whole lot of stuff that's proven in its field for the methods that it's got, and how do you then apply that to different areas. And what I ended up coming up with is really a bit of a mishmash of a number of different modalities that then is really my own way of doing things,
Yeah.
which is what
Yeah.
I'm now teaching.
Yeah. And it's fascinating. And when you mentioned the word holistic,
Yeah.
and the kind of different associations we have with that now, I guess I've always quite liked the term holistic because I think of whole, looking at the whole. And I just did a quick little check of what is the definition of holistic. And I think it does fit in quite well. It said it's the belief that parts of something are interconnected and can be explained only by reference to the whole. And it is that like holistic medicine, it's no point just looking at one symptom. We're looking at the whole, aren't we? And looking at everything that interconnects and interrelates. And I think that's what's so beautiful about this approach in relation to business. Yes, like you say, you need the nuts and bolts of business as well and the strategies, but you're looking at it as an energetic whole and all the interplaying factors. And I know that, you've been the great experimenter and trying this out for yourself in your various business lives and roles that you've had. Have you got some examples you could share with us of what you have done in your life and how it's worked for you, or perhaps with other people? Like, I'd like to hear about it in action.
Yes. I haven't prepared any. Let me think of let me think of some. I mean, on
I
a
know vision boarding is the way that I first kind of got connected with your
yes,
work, because you did a
yeah,
vision boarding workshop and that was fascinating.
yeah.
But then there's the whole energy and the swaying, and there's so much, isn't there, that you could choose from.
So we talked privately a different time about vision boarding after that workshop, and something that I shared with you that I'll share with everyone now is I love vision boards. I mean, the energy that they give off when you've got one in your home is insane. Like the way it can raise your vibration. If you've got an a vision board that is not inspiring you anymore, like do another one, like you, or release whatever the work out what that resistance, what that upset, whatever it is that's not inspiring you anymore is, and release it. But
For
what
anyone
we
who's not familiar, can we
oh,
say what a vision board is, first of
yeah,
all?
yeah,
Because
yeah,
I know
good
it's,
point.
it's everyday stuff to us,
I
but
was
yeah.
just going to point to, I've got one literally just off screen
Ah,
that you can't
mine
see.
are as well somewhere. Yeah, I've lost them. Where have they gone? There they are.
They're usually quite personal, so I tend not to have them
Yeah.
within sight as I'm doing anything like this. But I like to make one that is about kind of two A4s worth, two pieces of paper worth of size, but you can make them any size at all. You can have them on your phone screen, for example. You can either have them digital or you can have them printed off bits of paper stuck on. And it's really whatever collection of images or wording is the feeling of the life you want to be living into. So if you've got goals and dreams, put those on there. If you've got achievements you'd like to have, put them on there. If you've got a way of life you'd like to live, put some kind of representation on there. And you go and you just find bits of paper, sayings, photos, whatever, and compile them into basically like a collage. And some people do this very, very neatly. Others is more artistic. Others is more just chuck it all on. Whatever is the best representation of you. I know a lot of people say there are guidelines, but for the purpose of what I'm using it for, which is to raise the vibration and the frequency that I am emitting, it doesn't matter how you do it. The purpose is to look at it and be inspired. Like I've got a picture of a forest with some light filtering through it, right next to a picture of a brand new car that I'd like. Like there's nothing that's too materialistic, nothing that is too in the feeling or airy fairiness of it. You just put on what inspires you. So I've used them in lots of ways. I generally will often have one saved on my phone if I want to have it as my screensaver for a bit. That'll just have a couple of images and maybe a word or two to remind me. And what I'm trying to remind myself of is the feeling of the next things I want to have in my life, or the way I want my life to be going. It's not the things, it's the feeling. And the things, so a boat, a car, a house, a relationship, those things give you a feeling when you think of them. And actually, while we think we want the things, we actually want how we think the things will make us feel. So you're trying to evoke a feeling with it. And something that I had shared with you earlier was that I decided to take this. I like to test things in all forms. So I'll take stuff to the nth degree and see how it works. So once my husband and I made a vision board that took up this wall, in fact, in my house, this entire wall. And we made it the whole thing. And we just got loads of photos and pictures and stuff out of magazines and things. And the kids helped us. And we made this vision board of the house we wanted to move to. Which interestingly, we're now currently looking at a house which is very similar to that one. But we'd sit there on the sofa and we'd get really excited about it. And the feeling when you came into this room was just, yeah, this is what we want. This is so exciting. And so we were really driven and lifted up by it. But the thing about making a vision board, and things started happening really quickly. But the thing about a vision board, when it's that big and in your face, you also can't get away from it. And that the feeling it evoked got kind of exhausting after a while. We got to the point where we're like, I think we need to go sit in another room. We need to go out. Like, it's just too much. So eventually we took it down, and now I've got my nice, more compact one just here on the wall next to me. But it was a really interesting little test of, like, would it really lift us up? It did. Oh man, that was during that period. The business I had at the time grew the fastest I have ever had of a business grow. And I was not working any harder than I had been, or any more long hours or anything like that. I was working exactly the same and in exactly the same way, but the whole energy around me shifted because the entire wall next to where I sit with my laptop was one that just lit me up. So it's a really interesting test.
Yeah, thank you for experimenting for us, so we can hear your results.
Do it a bit smaller.
Yeah.
Do a large one, but maybe cover your door.
Yeah.
Not a wall.
And like you said, you mentioned there about having the vision board right now off to one side, so you're not looking at it all the time. Because I guess there's a place for that energy and the power of that energy, and other times when you need to protect your energy perhaps, or focus on something else, and not be all consumed by it. I think that can be a kind of a little danger of this work sometimes. Can it be to be all consuming? It has to kind of fit in with our lives as well and be manageable and sustainable.
Yeah, I think the other thing is when you're, whether you're looking at a vision board or whether you're doing tapping or whether you're doing the releasing mechanism that I now do, where you release energy you don't want. I mean, energy never goes away. You're just getting it out of your energy field and allowing in a new energy. Or you could also think of it as you're transforming one energy or one feeling into another. No matter what it is that you're doing, if you are totally saturating yourself in it, you never feel it freshly. And if you take the example of a vision board, if it just becomes, like you've got a magnet on the fridge, you put a magnet on your fridge, and it's like from when you went on holiday. Let's say you go to Tenerife for a lovely holiday and you get a nice little magnet that says Tenerife and it's got a picture of whatever beach you went to. And you put it on your fridge, and for the first month that's on there, you're like, oh, we so need to book another holiday to Tenerife. Love Tenerife. So amazing. Remember that time when we did blah, 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 blah. And so it's uplifting you each time you go to the fridge. But then 3 years later, you don't see the magnet as you open the fridge. So a vision board, any kind of work like this at all, you want it to be actively impacting your feeling, your frequency, your being. That is when you then get the results. To just put a nice little sign on the top of your computer to remind you to feel joy as you write an email might work for a week. Is it going to keep shifting your energy every time you write your newsletter, 500 episodes later? I don't know. Maybe it depends what kind of person you are. You need to have it freshly. And that's the thing with doing tapping, doing releasing, that stuff is what has it fresh in your energy all the time.
Because we start not to notice things. It becomes routine, doesn't it? And it's just part of the furniture, and we don't notice it. So yeah, you have the most amazing vision board with all the images that did evoke a feeling. But if you start not to notice it, you mentioned at the start about mixing it up and refreshing it, and changing it frequently. And I love the connection with feeling all the way through this work. It's not just about the pictures and thinking about and imagining your ideal life and what you want in your business or your life, but really connecting with the feeling. And that's what's going to make the change, the feeling.
Yeah, 100% agree.
So how else, what could our listeners do with that? What other tips have you got for working with energy and feeling? And you mentioned about releasing as well. I know that's a big part of the current work you're doing, are these release statements and release work that you do. It's fascinating.
So what the work that I do now, where I'm coaching people in their businesses and specifically around money, so making more money in your business. You don't, to do any of my programs, you don't have to have a business, but it is generally that type of people who are attracted to it. The method that I teach is a mix of a whole lot of stuff. And what we first use is what's called muscle testing, which is I use your sway, which is your whole body, and where you're asking a statement out loud. So, do I have any resistance to earning more money? And if you are really centered in your energy and you're standing with your feet kind of hip width apart, roughly comfortable, and you ask, which way did I just say that? Do I have any resistance to making more money?
Yes.
If you do have resistance, you will feel your body being pulled forward a little bit. And the reason for that is that you've just spoken words with the vibration of resistance of money out into the field, energy field around you, which is already vibrating from your cells and your body and your thoughts and your feelings on particular frequencies. And if there is a vibration out in your energy directly around you, which is matching the words you've just said, it's like two big waves at the ocean joining together to make an even bigger wave, and it'll literally pull you forward. Usually when you first start, it's just a little bit, but the more you tune into it, the bigger movements you feel. If you don't have resistance, it's like you've just put one vibration, like chucking stones into a pond. You chuck one stone into a pond, it makes these beautiful ripples going out. You chuck another stone in directly next to it, and the ripples crash together and make big waves. And it's exactly the same. You're saying something which has got a vibration out into the field, and it's crashing against, if you don't have whatever you just said, if you don't have that in your field, it's crashing against the vibration around you, and you will feel yourself being pulled back. So that's the first thing I teach, is how do you find out what your frequency is? So to relate it to money, it's asking, do I have any limiting beliefs around money? Do I am I aligned right now to making more money? Am I scared of making more money? Like whatever it is, right? You've got a client meeting coming up. Am I in the right place to be communicating? Am I going to connect with this client? So I use that method for people to find out what's actually happening in their frequency. And then I've got release statements that we then get rid of whatever the frequencies are you don't want. Or you could tap. That's another one.
So before we talk about the releasing, that
Yeah.
part, I love that, because it's learning more about yourself. And I think of it a bit like using yourself, your body, as like a human pendulum, like a dowsing pendulum,
Yes.
which is something I've experimented with before. And tapping in, it's like tapping into that inner knowing, isn't it? That inner knowledge, inner wisdom, whatever you want to call it, higher self, intuition. Who knows where this comes from? But yeah, getting out of our own way so that we can answer those big questions. And I know when you start this with someone, there's kind of a preparation phase, isn't there, to make sure that you you recognize that how the sway works for you, and that it does
Yeah.
sway forward for a yes and backwards for a no.
Yeah.
And that's what it was amazing when I did it, because I kind of knew it was going to work because I'd done the dowsing with the pendulum. But to feel my whole body on board, it was quite overwhelming at first. It was like, oh my goodness, my whole body's moving. And
Yeah.
just simply by saying, like repeating the word yes, or
Yeah.
saying my
Yes,
name is
yes, yes.
Sarah, or my name is
Yeah.
Fred, which is obviously a no. And just feeling your body totally involuntary move
Yeah.
forward, and then involuntary move back.
It's weird.
It is
It's
weird, but
it's
and
really
then when
weird.
you
If
get
you're
over the
scared of the
weirdness,
woo-woo, this
yeah,
is not the thing for you.
because you're there with the woo woo. But then it's actually really empowering, because it's like, wow, I have this way of answering questions that I might not intellectually know right now. Like I
Yeah.
can't access that information because I'm busy, I'm overwhelmed, I've got lots of kind of conflicting thoughts in my head about whatever this issue is. But then if you just drop into yourself, and I know there's a little bit of preparation, isn't there, of
Yeah.
breathing and, you know, grounding and centering first, but it's fascinating that you can get these very clear yes and no
Yeah.
answers. I mean, how amazing is that as a first step before you do anything with it, but just to have that knowledge about
Yeah.
yourself.
It's also sometimes it's not even knowledge about yourself.
Mm.
It's if you think of how your energy field works and you're walking around. So right now we're both in rooms where my cat was in here a moment ago. You've got your cat. So there's just us and our cats in the room. But if you were in a room with loads of different people, you think your energy field depends on what tool you use to measure it, but it can measure anywhere between about 2 feet from your body and about 20 feet from your body. And different studies say different things, but science, physics proves that your vibration can be felt around you. So if you stand close to another person, you give them a hug, you're sat with them chatting for a long time, you are in their vibrational field. And if you think of that your vibration and their vibrations are doing that and mixing, they're going to impact each other. So you may have personally done loads of work to have yourself feel, I don't know, that you enjoy having money, or you can see that money is a good thing for being able to help other people, or you're not that bothered, but you know you want X kind of lifestyle. Whatever that is for you, because everyone is different, and that's what makes us so great, right? Whatever the things are you've done loads of work on, if you sit and chat with someone and you're sharing energy fields and they've got a completely opposing view to you, their frequency can mess up some of your frequency. And you know, if you've ever gone to meet a friend, you've had a wonderful time, but you came away just feeling a little bit off. What was that? Is that their energy? Is that your energy? Because you're now carrying that around in your energy field. Or, you know, when you're sat in a room and the whole feeling of the room changes, and you know without even turning around that someone who's angry has just, or really in a bad mood, has just walked in. And what's happened is they've walked in the room and their energy has gone boom 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 all the way over to you, and it's hit your energy field and you've felt it. And that's why you know stuff is there without even turning around or looking or hearing. So to tie it back to what we were just saying, this stuff to me is just mind blowing, because sometimes you can have done all the work for yourself and you can have feel like, oh, I've worked on this issue of my weight or my personal image or my relationship or my money or my business or whatever. I can have worked on it lots and lots and lots, but the second I'm in somebody else's energy field where they've got crap going on about it, suddenly I feel like I'm back at the beginning, or something just feels off. And that's the thing about being able to, you can use a pendulum or you can use your body in the way that I teach, to then ask your energy field these questions and find out, do I have limiting beliefs around that? Am I kind of nervous about this? Or do I have a repeating pattern or belief about blah, blah, blah? Because it might be yours. It might be somebody else's that you just happened to have walked by at the bus stop who you didn't know at all. And you
Mm.
just walked through their energy field.
Yeah. I'm always fascinated by that idea of what we collect along the way that doesn't even belong to us.
I
And that's a lot
know.
of the work I do as well with tapping. It's like trying to get rid of other people's stuff, not our own. And sometimes it's consciously collected of like,
Yeah.
people's opinions or something you've read in the media, or just society as a whole has this opinion and, it doesn't resonate with you and you've collected all this stuff. But I'm interested in that unconsciously unaware kind of collecting. Like you say, you could just be in someone's
Yeah.
energy field and pick stuff up. I mean, what do we do with that? So you get your answers, the yes and no and so on with the swaying. But what do you then do to resolve that? Like, what's the next
Yeah.
step?
So energy, if you've got somebody else's energy or even anything from your childhood or from your parents or just a belief that you've got that isn't serving you, that's in your field, that's what this work is trying to find out what those things are, is the first thing. Then the next thing you do is release it. Now, I have tried many different things over the years: journaling, meditating, tapping, EAM, um, uh, there's more. I've tried loads of different techniques. They are all valid. They are all great. I have enjoyed and got benefit from every single one of them. What I have found the most efficient is to use an audible release statement. And you don't have to get the words perfect. You can use any one you want. And in fact, if you look over different techniques, there are many different release statements that people use for different therapies. The one that I use is I'll ask, so if we go back to the money example, am I aligned to making more money at the moment? And I can feel myself going forward, because I always like to keep my own money energy clear. But let's say that I'd walk past someone who was in a right grump about money, and I was like, something feels off. Am I aligned to making more money? Oh no. Oh heavens. Right. I've had a sway back. Well, can I release that now? Is the next question I ask. So if I get a yes, great, I'm going to release it. If not, there's some other issue going on and you want to just keep asking questions. Like, do I need to know who it was I walked by? Or do I need to know whether this has come from my childhood? And you just ask questions. And then when you get to the answer, can I release this now? You don't need, it's not therapy. You do not need to go into the depths of it all. If there's something like that, that's what therapy is for. If it is anything else, you're just finding out what the issue is and can you release it. And then once you get a yes, you can release it. I am ready, say this out loud, I am ready to release this this resistance that's stopping me being ready to earn more money right now. I release it now. I release it now. I release it now. And you say the whole thing 3 times. I'm ready to release this resistance that's stopping me earning more money right now. I release it now, release it now, release it now. And then one more time. So 3 times in total. Big breath in, big breath out, let it all go. And it should be out of your energy field. But you can ask, have I released this now? And you're looking for a yes, I have released it now. No, I don't have any resistance in my energy field anymore about that.
I love that checking in, and that's, it's got similarities with the tapping there, because it gives us that knowledge, doesn't it, of where, how far we've come or how much there still is to
Yeah.
do, if we can be, yeah, have a tangible kind of result as we go, and checking in. And I love the fact when you mentioned there that, your belief is strong, that you keep it strong, that you are ready to earn more money, or whatever the statement was, but that things can happen and suddenly you can notice that you don't feel aligned, or it feels off.
Yeah.
And yeah, what do we do with that normally? Like, we just carry on at this kind of
Yep.
lower level and our beliefs being shaken, or is there something we can do to check in? Like, why is
Yeah.
this there? Is it something I can release? I love that, how we're taking back control, it
Yeah.
empowers us to give us something we can do.
Well, business ultimately, even if you're a not for profit, business is so intertwined with money as a topic. And money is such a topic that, like, I've used that word a number of times while I've been talking, and there'll be people listening. I so apologize to all of you who it is that for you, where every time I say the word, they're going to be going, oh, oh,
Mm.
because it's a topic that is firstly not discussed openly. I mean, you don't walk up to someone at a networking meeting and go, hi, I'm Rebecca, how much do you earn? like, what a horrible thing to say to someone. Intrusive and yucky. But then why do we feel that's intrusive and yucky?
Mm,
I mean, to be fair, that is a really intrusive question. You just never ask that. But there's so many money topics where people get weird about it because of the way society is. And it doesn't take much when you're running a business to have someone throw the energy around money off for you, or to have various beliefs and perceptions and stuff that, money doesn't grow on trees, or, all of that stuff in society. And people make these throwaway comments. Oh, have you seen the price of bread recently? And those tiny little statements then get into your energy field, and then that impacts when you're sat there trying to come up with this amazing offer that you're so excited to offer your clients, because you know what a difference it's going to make for all of them, and you know the difference you are there to do out in the world, and you're so excited about all of this, and then you get to putting a price on it and you're like, oh, and it throws you off. And the next thing, you're not communicating this in a way where the client is going, this is for my highest good. I'm really excited to learn from this person or buy this thing or whatever. And this is, I can't emphasize this enough, to be able to go and do the things and make the kind of impact that most of us have the ability to do out in the world, to release whatever those limiting beliefs are about yourself, about business, about money, about whatever it is, about how you look. If you can release all of those things, suddenly you're far more able to serve others. You're far more able to contribute. So it goes, for me, the topic of money is actually more a topic about contribution and what you put out into the world. But unless your needs are met, your children are fed, you're in a comfortable home, you've got this stuff around you which makes your life easy, you can't serve people as well as you could. And where you're holding on to any kind of beliefs, which may or may not be your own, which are holding you back, you're not able to serve people in the way that you could. So, I mean, many people think money is a is a topic which is selfish. I think it's the opposite of it, but it's all about serving,
mm.
and that's just perception. You can choose to take that on or not.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. And we'll all have our own stories and our own backgrounds and what that means to us. But to start taking ownership of it and to clear the way with money and get back to what it's really
Create it how
about.
you want it.
Yeah, the
Like,
energy of it, what it can do in the world, to be of service. I love all of that. And
yeah.
I
And
think
that's
you're,
just a creation. That's just something
mm,
I made up in my own head, a
mm,
way that I've chosen to look at it.
yeah,
And someone else can choose to look at it differently.
as all stories are,
Yeah.
everything we tell ourselves, it becomes our reality, doesn't it? Yeah. And you're really tying in with my topics, my values of the clarity, purpose, and joy, because the clarity, this is all about clearing the way. It's all about that
Yeah.
that knowledge, so we can clear, so we can make way for what we truly want. And I love when you just talked about earning money, being in business, whatever it is you're doing, how that is being of service, and noticing the impact that that then has immediately for yourself, for your family, for your community, the wider world. It's that difference you can make in the world, isn't it? And while we're stuck and yeah, short-circuiting ourselves, we're not going to go out there and make that difference. So that's really beautiful. And I'd love to tap into that final one of joy with you now, Rebecca, because I know that your work brings you joy. And I mean, you're lighting up the screen now. You're this joyful person. I love being in your company. But tell me, what does bring you joy? What does it mean to you?
Thank you for saying those lovely things. Um, for me, if I picture like what is joy, it's being out in nature
Mm.
with my kids, with my family, and feeling like I'm making a difference somehow. And that is like my picture of joy. What brings me joy on a day-to-day basis, um, the kind of, the big lofty statement is making a difference. Like, the work that I'm doing is now making a difference to other people. Every business I've had, from like the hair salons to the flower shop to the office service to the sewing patterns, all of them brought joy in some way. But what I'm doing now is helping other people bring joy to themselves. And that feels like a whole other level to be helping other people bring that to themselves. This is a multifaceted answer. And then what do I like to do that brings me joy? Crafting, any kind of sewing and making stuff. DIY, making little dolls' houses, sewing a dress. If I can push it together with my fingers and my hands, I love that.
I'm hearing a theme of like creation there, like helping others to create their own realities and bring their own joy, and then your personal, what you like to do yourself. Well, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And how can our listeners be in touch with you? I know that Instagram is a great place where you hang out. And when you were sharing the release statements, I know you've got some reels where you demonstrate that. So if anyone wants to follow along and do release statements with you, that's amazing. But yeah, tell us all the places we can find you and how we could get involved with the work you're doing now as well through your membership.
Thank you. Yes, I am on nearly all of the different socials. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok is probably where I spend the most time. So Rebecca J Page on Instagram, and if you just search Rebecca Page on the others, I will come up. And I have a 14-day free trial for my Money Zone Club, which is where I teach this work. And I'll give the link for you to share. It's where I teach this work in relation to money. You can apply it to any topic at all. And there are various bonuses that you get when you sign up where you can apply it to anything else as well.
Amazing. Thank you. We will include all the links in the show notes. So wherever you're listening to the podcast, there'll be clickable links that you can follow through for Rebecca's work. So thank you for sharing. I love talking energy with you. It's fascinating. We could have gone on for hours, I know, but this gives, I think, a really lovely insight into the power of this work and how easy it can be as well and how accessible. So thank you for sharing that with us, Rebecca.
100%. Thank you so much, Sarah. I really love chatting with you. So that was really fun. And thank you for listening, everyone.
Thank you for listening to the Fertile Mindset podcast. Please rate and review, and remember to follow or subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you are listening. Now, if this conversation has sparked something within you and you want to live your life with clarity, purpose, and joy, then I would love you to sign up for my Daily Seeds emails. They're delivered to you each day, giving you messages of support and planting seeds of inspiration. You'll also receive welcome gifts from me, including an EFT tuition video and some of my favourite tapping exercises to clear overwhelm, reduce stress, help you focus, and more, all completely free of charge. I'll also keep in touch with you about upcoming events and support that I think you'll like. Go to fertilemindset.com/dailyseeds to sign up. And I'll see you again next week for another episode of the Fertile Mindset podcast.